If we continue the way we're going, then we're going to reach a crisis point where it's impossible to feed everyone. And at that point, then all bets will be off, because you'll have millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions, maybe billions of people who are migrating to survive. Now, if you're in the first world and you think, well, that's okay, it's not me, it's them. Well, this isn't going to save you. You can't shoot them down. There are too many. There's 7 billion people on the earth, and we're adding 1 billion people every 12 years. It's not going to be possible to suppress humanity when they can't survive. They won't go gently into that good night.
Liu also did research in Bolivia, where biomass is burnt to make room for agriculture.
Here in the foothills of the Andes, slash and burn agriculture is taking place today. The people who are doing this think that they are getting some short-term economic gain, but what's the loss to biodiversity, biomass, soil fertility, and hydrological function?
Biomass in a functional ecosystem has economic value. Why destroy it when you can also use it to restore landscapes elsewhere?
The idea is that there are different biomes on the Earth, and some of them, I mean, there are many, obviously, but two that I've noticed also both have problems. There are areas which are brittle and fragile and arid or hyper-arid, like here. And then there are areas which are able to create huge amounts of biomass, like in the tropics. So what about linking these two areas together? What about generating huge amounts of organic material there and moving it here, or at least a percentage of it? You don't want to deplete the fertility there, but a small amount of that could come. If that came here, you'd create an industry there instead of them using slash and burn agriculture to grow crops which they can't even feed themselves and destroy what is the most valuable thing about their system. They would have money and a job, and then here you'd have another industry to do restoration. So this would create two huge industries, employ untold numbers of people, and put us on a pathway towards sustainability that's constantly sequestering carbon, infiltrating more and more rainfall, giving us food security in places that are now experiencing famine. It's extraordinary.
Well, you can see, considering we're in a desert, we've got kind of a lush herbaceous growth growing at this time of year.
Well, I just saw off the site, there were people who were dumping crop waste somewhere else. They don't understand this principle.
No, a lot of people are just think they've got to tidy up and take out all the organic matter and burn it. A lot of it is wasted and goes on to be a pollution. So we're going in a negative direction rather than coming into a positive direction. And it's really that simple. The world gets more and more complicated all the time, but the solution to fix the major problems of the world's ecosystems remains reasonably simple. And it's kind of ironic.
But we have to act as a species on a planetary scale. We can't simply do this one backyard at a time, because the problems have now reached this crisis point on a planet all over the world.
Yeah, not anymore. I think we've got to go on a major scale now. Everybody can do their backyard as well,
yeah,
but we have to change the major eroded landscapes into the functional ecosystems they should be. And then we've got the foundation to just continue. There's not too many people in the world, in my view. Most people don't realise they're acting in a very negative way in relation to the environment. We have to turn everything round into a functional relationship, and then we need all the people. We need as many people as we can get right now, and they have to go into action. We have to go into service, and that's what we're finding. People want to go into service to kind of save the world, really, to save our present existence.
people are in a cycle of poverty and ecologic destruction. And they just continue to be poor, and they pass this poverty from one generation to the next generation. Now, when you get on a process of restoration, you can see that the next generations will have much better lives. So they'll be able to participate in a much richer social life. They'll have different cultural changes. They'll have increased wealth. They'll have better diet and health care and educational opportunities. Everything will be different.
In the vast, lush plateau, Liu had already seen how much persuasion it took. There, they had to make 2.5 million people understand that it would be best for now to keep their cattle indoors and not to make optimum use of their land, to give nature some space. But how do you tell that to the locals, who depend on the cattle and the produce of the land?
The changes are not simply on the hillsides. On the plains, you can see greenhouses that are filled with vegetables. This extends the growing season. It's very high-value produce. The abundance and variety of new produce can be seen in the local markets. Follow-up studies have shown that incomes have risen threefold. And the compost doesn't actually feed the plants, it feeds the soils.
It feeds the soil organisms. So the largest diversity of organisms in the known universe, the soil organisms. There's 50 million genus of bacteria and 50 million genus of fungi. And you're feeding the organisms, and their exudates and their interactions are feeding the plants. That's how it works with natural systems, and that's how it works with organics.